Check, check. Check, check, 1, 2. I don't know if my sound's working. Okay, I think it is. Welcome to anyone that might be joining me for the stream this beautiful morning here in George, South Africa. I'm breaking tradition a little here. Normally, with brand new ad additions to the simulator, I start off in Cape Town, my home city. Um, as I'm most familiar with the airspace, and there's just, I think, obviously a lot of nice things to see and do. A few local airfields to fly to and from as well. But it's a bit on the windy side there, and because we're taking up this beautiful example of the Piper PA-38 Tomahawk, this obviously being a very light aircraft, relatively speaking, I figured it would be better to just move off somewhere where the wind is not as strong, so we can hopefully experience a little bit more stable flying conditions. Nevertheless, this is still a beautiful part of the country, part of what's known as the Garden Route. So we'll be making our way eastbound along the coast to what I believe is even more, uh, arguably a more beautiful um, part of the coastline. We'll be flying past a small town called Knysna, which features a beautiful lagoon, and eventually winding up at the Plettenberg Airport, just outside of the town of Plettenberg Bay. This scenery is custom scenery. It's by NMG. I believe he or she is a South African developer, a scenery developer. So not bad. Decent scenery from him on offer. So check him out. And yeah, that's where we are right now. We're at one of his South African airports, or at least one of his renditions of the South African airport of George. And we'll be making our way to, as I said, Plettenberg Bay. That will be a default airport, I believe. I don't think there is payware for that airport, so let's hope it looks decent. So without further delay, let's start talking about the main attraction here, and that is, as mentioned, JustFlight's latest offering, the PA-38 Tomahawk. We're in the cold and dark state. As for those that have read the description of the video, this is my very first time in the aircraft, so your guess is as good as mine with how this will, how smoothly this flight will go. Haven't read any manuals, so yeah, we'll try and figure it out from the ground up. No pun intended. Only one issue I've already noticed, and I don't know if this is part of the cold and dark state, but all controls are movable except for the rudder pedals, or rather the rudder and the pedals for that matter. So hopefully they'll loosen up by the time we have the aircraft pre-flighted and ready to go. With that said, let's start with the walk around. Actually, let's just have a look here quickly at the external model and work our way inside. As I said, this is my first impression video, so bear with me as I figure this out. So, external model. Beautiful. I'm told that the panels with the real aircraft don't perfectly sit flush with the airframe, so you know, don't be alarmed when you see things like these gaps between panels and whatnot, as they are accurately representing the how it would be in reality. And I personally appreciate details like this. Just improves the immersion and really makes it look and almost feel like an actual aircraft. You've got a nice sort of canopy, bubble canopy type situation going on here. Some marks in the window. Beautiful little details that, again, as mentioned, just I feel increase the immersion. No one likes, or at least I don't like, a perfectly clean exterior model here, just because I like my aircraft to have character. It makes it feel like more closer to the real thing. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, as mentioned, the texturing is beautiful. The exterior, the 3D model, it looks, I mean, impeccable. I mean, just look at the subtle curvatures to the wing there. The 3D modeled fuel caps. And then obviously all of the avionic aerials and antennas and what have you. So as you can see, we are obviously in the cold, dark state with the static items visible. You've got yourself a tow bar attached to the nose wheel. Our chocks are out or in place. We've got the tie downs for the wings. I believe it's only available for the wings. We don't have them for the tail. That's not a complaint, just merely an observation. And we've got the pitot heat, not pitot heat, the pitot covers. Is that the pitot cover? I don't think so. The pitot tube. Where would that be? That's probably a tube that pointing forward. That's rather interesting. Like I said, new to the aircraft, so we're figuring this out as we go along. Let's jump inside. Right, so, yeah, looks great. As with most of the other JustFlight aircraft, you've got the ability to toggle an EFB. This EFB features the usual options as far as configuring the aircraft's status is concerned. Got a maintenance system modeled here where the wear and tear of the aircraft, or at least where the wear and tear of the aircraft takes place, and it is saved. You have the option to obviously turn this state saving option on and off. You've got the general condition of the aircraft here ability to set your wear rate. I mean, everything else is pretty much self-explanatory, and I'm not really going to go in too much detail. As mentioned, all the other JustFlight tablet features are here, including your interactive checklists, as well as Navigraph integration. So we'll just, goodness, let me see. All right, let's get George. Up onto the page here, or the display. So we're located somewhere here next to Charlie. We'll continue taxiing. As far as I can tell, the winds are calm, unless they have changed since I started the stream. Bit of a crosswind. But it seems like it's a crosswind of 4 knots, regardless of which runway we end up using. The winds are picking up, it looks like, but they're generally blowing from bearing of 340 degrees at 4 knots, varying between 310 and 030. Otherwise, the weather is reportedly Cavoke, temperature 16, dew point 13, and the QNH a standard 1013. All in all, a beautiful day for flying. Actually, out of curiosity, what's the TAF looking like? There's no TAF available for some reason. Okay, never mind. Moving right along. So apparently there is a pre-flight mechanic to this aircraft, and as a fan of the A2A Comanche, this is something that I have really been looking forward to seeing in other aircraft. So let's see how it goes. So I think, yeah, we just click the start walk around option here, and I think we'll just go straight on to select walk around camera to begin. Select an item to see information. So I think we can go to next. All right, and we'll just go. Oh, you can even hear the footsteps. I don't know what we have to. Okay, so we're checking the. Oh, that's nice. All right, so you just click once. Very nice. So we can actually move the camera around and check the flaps, the ailerons, they're moving. And we need to check the fuel quantity. How would we go about checking that? Do we actually, oh, from all the way here we can check. Okay. All right. All right. That's really cool. Make the tanks about 50%. I still have to play with the loadout here, but we'll get to that. Let's continue with the pre-flight. So next up, so I see you can actually, they actually list all the items you should be checking here. So I did leave the parking brake on, so I think it's safe to say that we can remove the chocks, which we will then go ahead and do. How do I do that? What's happening here? Left chock? Oh, so you can actually toggle. All right, okay. Can I actually physically click on this guy? Toggle the tie down. All right. So remove this guy, the pitot head. The heater is okay, it says. Toggle the cover. Wow, I never saw a pitot tube that looks like that. That's quite interesting. Left tire check, so we can actually check the tire. Oh wow, it actually gives you the PSI as well as the condition. That's fine. Stall warning. I believe it's this guy. I think you should actually have the battery on and you might be able to hear the tone. We'll check that out in a second. Fuel strain. I don't know if this is like the Comanche where I have to actually have the fuel tank selected to open. Where is the, how would I go about straining the fuel? Do you think? I don't know where there's like a little port that we can bleed from, or do we just click on it? I guess we just click on it. No water quantity. Gear strut, we can check, looks good. I really feel like we should have been able to click on the fuel Can I mean, is there a way to move the camera? Let's just double check that you guys, okay, my mic is on. It would have been terrible if I was, can I move the camera? Oh, I can move the camera. I feel like there, is it this? It's probably that. Let's check. All right, that was the place where we actually drain the fuel. Sadly, not an animation like the A2A included, but not complaining too much. I'm just really happy that the option is there to check these things physically. Right, so I don't know, what do we need to check here? So the chocks have been removed. The nose tire we can check, so we'll click on that. We'll see 29 psi. I assume that's the what it needs to be. Prop check, so I guess we can click on it. Oh wow, we can actually move it. Oh, listen to that. That looks really, that sounds, it looks pretty cool. I mean, a very silly gripe, but I assume, this being a piston engine, that, you know, if you do spin the prop, it should sort of spring it to the next, I don't know how to describe it, sort of like, unlike a turboprop, especially the ones with the free propellers, if that's the right term to use, where you can just freely spin the propeller and it will just smoothly spin, you know, complete a revolution. Piston engines are going to be really difficult to spin, number one, because it's physically connected to the engine, so you're going to be moving the pistons, right, as you try and turn the prop. So it shouldn't be a very smooth rotation, if that makes sense. It should jump from one piston to the next, if that makes sense. Not quite the right way to put it, but I think most will be able to get what I'm saying. So it'd be kind of nice to see that happening, but small gripe. Again, this is already more than what I could have hoped for coming from JustFlight. And I don't mean that as an insult or anything. All right, so the tow bar we can remove. Okay, gear strut. Okay, we've checked that now. I don't know how to. There we go. Toggle the tow bar. There we go. And the fuel strain. I believe it's that guy. There it is. No water. Okay, great. We're going to move to the next position here. Again, check the tire. Looks fine. The strut looks fine. The engine check. So I believe we're checking oil, the condition. There's a second page. Oh, I didn't even see that. Yeah, okay. Batteries at 12 volts. Spark plugs look good. Can we not open this up? That's a pity. That's a pity. Would have been nice to see the engine modeled. That sounds pretty cool. Okay, and the strut we're going to look at. Gear strut looks good. Fuel strain, tie downs removed. There's still a tie down on this side that we need to remove. And the fuel strain, I believe it's this guy. Nope, that's the tie down. Let's see if we can find the strainer for the fuel. I think it's that. Where is our tablet? There it is. Okay, good. Next. So we'll check the ailerons here, up and down. Obviously, you'd want to make sure that there weren't any control locks. I believe there are no control locks here for the aircraft. We're going to check the fuel quantity. And I don't know if yeah, all right. So we'll set it to 50% either side. That's all the checks here. Right, elevator check. So we'll just move the elevator up and down. The rudder check. Okay, so it can move. I'm a little worried about it not moving with my rudder pedals. We'll see what happens. And the antennas we can check. So we've apparently got COM 1 and 2, nav 1 and 2, transponder and ADF antennas. I can only see 2 here. I don't know what the others would look like, to be honest, but I think it could be this little box or thing down there. Anyways, finished with this section, and I believe that is the walk around. So we've completed the pre-flight. I just want to make sure that our weights are good. So we have weights, luggage, 30. It's a bit heavy, but okay. Total max takeoff weight 750, and we're at 737. So we're right on the edge of our max takeoff weight, which is fine. We're within limits. So let's get inside the aircraft here. So to close the door, there's two latches. So we're gonna close either side. We should have our co-pilot here with us. And then there's a top latch here. There we go. Quite interesting. I was hoping we'd be able to see the pilots. Why do we not see the pilots? I feel like there was a toggle for the pilots. Co-pilot enabled. All right. Don't know why we're not seeing the pilots. That's a little disappointing. But maybe they'll come when we turn on the aircraft. Okie dokie. So I'm just going to use my personal sort of mental checklist here. And we'll cross-check, I guess, occasionally with the actual checklist just to make sure we don't miss anything. But basically, you're going to want to make sure that the shit is. Oh, I love that sound. We would have checked with the pre-flight that our controls are free and correct. Oh, check at the electric cabling that's beautifully modeled and moving, right? And we're obviously making sure that our flight controls are moving with our... I'm not sure why I'm not getting a rudder pedal action here. It could be FS realistic. It has done some strange things with my flight controls before. All right, the other things we want to check just to make sure that the general condition of the inside of the aircraft is how you'd expect it to be. Right, so we've got the flap lever here, which I believe is mechanical. So it looks like, listen to that, that's spring loaded. So it's only two settings there for the flaps. Mixture is cut off, throttles at idle, and all the electronics and everything should be off. Carb heat also off. And the fuel cutoff or the fuel selector is over here. I don't, okay, there we go, left and right. Oh, and it's got a little safety pin there or stop for us. All right, so you would just choose whichever is the fullest tank. Circuit breakers, they all look like they're in. I think they're modeled. And I believe that would be, that's pretty much it. I'll go ahead and turn on the battery. Ah, there comes our co-pilot. Just because I'm not a fan of the 3D model. I mean, they're not that bad, but let's see. If I turn him off, does he disappear on the outside? Yeah, he does. I mean, that's not cool. I want to have my buddy with me, so let's pop him back inside. All right, cool. There's no beacon here. It's sunrise, so we shouldn't really have to worry about the nav lights, but let's turn the nav lights on. Actually, let's turn all our lights on just to kind of see them. Should have actually done that in the pre-flight. So there are navigation lights, red, green, should be white on the tail, there we go. And the strobes, or the anti-collision lights, you can actually hear them. That's quite interesting. You can see them just barely. Oh wow, in the shadow there you can see them. That's so cool. I love the effects of this sim, man. I believe there are no taxi lights. There's a landing light. And as mentioned, there's no beacon. So we'll just turn all the others off. We'll turn the nav lights on. Let's check to see what the electronics are. I don't know what the alt is saying there to me. This warning, continuous light after engine start requires immediate investigation. So there's a check engine light in this thing even. Where are our electronics? So we can see we are drawing current from the battery. The gauges are as they should be. Everything else is in the off position. Let's disable this tablet. Right. I feel like, is there no way to see what the voltage of the battery is, or do you just have to kind of hope that they are how they should be. I don't see it. Music. Ah, okay. Press to test. Ah, that's probably what would tell us if the battery wasn't charged. All right, so let's check how to start this thing up. Starting when hot. Engine start. Starting when cold. So prime as required. So on the last priming stroke, leave the primer in the out position. Throttle half an inch open. So we'll crack the throttle. I believe we would have to bring the mixture lever up. Okay, my throttle axis is a little jumpy, so excuse this. So we'll just put it back to idle for now. Master switch on, electric fuel pump on, then the mixture goes fully rich. The starter is engaged. The primer push in slowly after the engine start. Advance the throttle slightly, oil pressure. Okay, so it's basically a standard start for a piston engine here. So fuel selector, let's just put the mixture rich for now, crack the throttle, and let's get the pump going. Is there fuel pressure? There is. So let's get the pump starting. There you go. Just have that go for a few seconds. I don't know. Do we have to keep it on? I think we have to keep it on. Where's the primer, though? I don't remember seeing a primer anywhere. Fuel pump, landing, pitot. Let's see. Where is our primer? So another feature is that the checklist function works with this thing. I don't know, do I have it still? I turned it off, right? Yeah. So the checklist feature is also the interactive checklist features there. Before starting engine, so those are closed, seats, seat belts, circuit breakers, parking brake, carburetor, heat, full oil, field selected, desired tank. Engine start when cold, so the primer is there, hiding. Okay, throttle, open master, electric pump, fuel, and push in slowly. All right, so that's easy enough, I believe. So, all right, so normally with engine primed, it's like 4 to 5 if it's cold. So we'll just go with, I think, 3 or 4. They say leave it out for the start. Okay. I believe that's it. So pump comes on, and we're going to start the engine. We're clear.
Clear prop.
Ooh, that sounds good. That sounds nice. All right, so we'll just get the engine to stabilize at about 1,000. That's typically how, that's like a typical idle for most piston engines, I'd say. I want to quickly check to make sure that we do have oil pressure, and we do. Oil temperature is already in the green, and the fuel pressure obviously in the green. And we can go ahead, turn on the amp meter. Oh, that's what that alt button was. First, the alternator's off. Okay, great. Okie dokie. I believe that's it for the startup. Oh, and then we need to slowly push this back. I can't control the speed of that. And advance slightly, check oil pressure. Fuel pump can come off, and we just want to double check that we still have a decent amount of fuel pressure left over. Yep, and the primer is locked. Okay, great. Up, not rotate, come on. There we go. Next up. Warm up. 800 to 1,200, we're ready at about 1,000. Taxiing, radios, taxi area, brake, steering, ground check. Alright, so the ground check, just to go over that for later, 1,000 RPM, 1,800. Max shot 175, 50 in between. Vacuum needs to be about 5 inches of mercury. Oil temperature, carburetor, heat check, throttle, magnetos. That's it. Before takeoff, master switch, flight instruments, fuel selector, mixture. We'll just check all of this later, I guess, when we get to the runway. Alright. There's no forecast. We're going to take off in the direction we're going to be flying. Before we do so, let's make sure that's set to 1013 and that the DG is aligned with the magnetic compass, which is over there. We've even got our little compass deviation chart here, but it's empty. Not that I've ever used it. And we've got the temperature for the outside air temperature there. Do we have rudder pedals still? No, we do not. What is going on with the rudders? Alright, let's taxi. Let's see if it works. We'll release the parking brakes. I'm gonna lean the mixture here just so we don't have it foul. Yeah, the rudders are not working. Why not? What's the issue? Let's put the brakes on. Just bear with me here. I think it might be FS realistic. Let's turn it off completely, close it off, and see what happens. I don't know. Oh, there we go. There we go. We got something. I think it's FS realistic. But there, what was that though? Because there is a... Look, I mean, there are haters of FS realistic, but I like it. It works pretty well most of the time. Just let me get it running again. It locks the... There is a feature of the software that locks your flight controls. I don't know why. Yep, there it's... Oh, now it's locked the... This is what it's done before, is it locks the elevator as well. I just need to find the right... Can you guys see this? You can't see it. Alright, just bear with me here, please. As I try and figure out what was it? Which... Was it airframe airflow? Nope. Brakes. Rear prop, cockpit ambience, engine vibration. There was something that did it. I can't remember what it was. Maybe the first person feature. Flap lever, flap stress. No, I don't think it had anything to do with the flaps. G-forces maybe? Oh, the ground effect. That has to be it, right? Or the ground roll even? I'm pretty sure it was the ground effect now that I... Overspeed, over G. Just turn all this stuff off that we don't oh, maybe the prop wash. Ah, that's it. The prop wash. I'm not sure why it does that, although... Let's just see here quickly. There we go. We have flight controls back. Great stuff. So it's the prop wash effect. I don't know why it does that. It's a glitch I found with FS Realistic. Alright, clear on the left and the right. Oh, we should probably turn on our radios. Alright, let's see how this works. Apparently, yeah, these radios are quite authentically modeled. VFR squawk in Southern Africa is 2000. We are on ground mode here. Let's see. How does this work? So we can send set com 1248. Go to 12486. This one, 12486. Wait, I think I went a little bit. 12486. Check, check. Check 1, 2. Check, check. Oh, you know what? I don't think we're online yet. Nope, we're not. So we are Zulu Sierra, Tango Mike Hotel, and a PA-38. Is that the actual? Yeah. And we're going to be naughty and not put in a flight plan. Check, check. All right, there we go. I don't know if you can hear my voice, but that's on the radio at least. So it's 1228. And then 1215 was, I believe, a good habit to keep 1215 in your standby radio. All right, good. Let's go. She sounds really good. I like it. I dare say I can actually feel the torque of the engine already at this lower RPM setting. So this is a fixed pitch propeller powered aircraft, so that means we will only have a engine lever, control lever for the manifold pressure, so the power lever and a fuel mixture lever. There won't be a lever for the RPM itself. Alright, so just as we leave the GA area here, let's just turn on, or just make an announcement. There is no air traffic control online at the moment. And I'd say we'll go right to the end of the runway here. So let's just call up the chart. It's probably going to be taxiway. Yeah, well, there it says in front of us, Alpha. So we'll take runway 11. George traffic, Cessna, Zulu Sierra, Tango Mike, correction, Piper, Zulu Sierra, Tango Mike Hotel, General Aviation, taxi through, holding short runway 11 via Charlie and Alpha. George traffic. Alright, yeah, we're not in a Cessna today. Does require a little bit of power here to get going. Let's go, let's go. I guess we are very close to our maximum takeoff weight. Check the various aircraft external views here. Oh. So far the sounds are not too bad. The propeller animation is decent. You can hear the, you know, sort of ambient ground noises. I don't know if that's FS realistic or the JustFlight aircraft. That's quite a bit of a downhill here. Don't know why the developer of the airport didn't correct the terrain issues. But anyways, coming up to the, I believe this is the, what, the category 2 holding point? This is the holding point that would be sort of expected to be used in IMC conditions with the aircraft that are aware, or during which time aircraft are actually relying on the ILS to get lined up with the runway. Quite a bit of terrain elevation variation here, so I'm just going to come just to the side of the taxiway here so I can point my nose away from any traffic that might potentially, hope that light wasn't tall enough to strike my wing. Alright, there we go. So at least the brakes are working, the engine, correction, the gyros were, or the directional gyro was spinning. Excuse me, just hold on. To adjust something here quickly. All right. So yeah, tail's pointing away from everyone. Let's do the run-ups here. Brakes are on. Mixture comes fully rich. I don't think we need to turn the fuel pump on here. So let's go to 1,800 RPM. So now we check the engine instruments. Fuel pressure is in the green, oil temperature is in the green, oil pressure is in the green. We can go ahead and check the mags here, so we're going to go all the way to the right one. A drop of just over 100, which is fine. Needs to be maximum 175. Go back to both. Go to the left magneto, also just over 100, and we check it, compare it with the right magneto. Not much difference. Back to both. Okay, so the magnetos are working. The carburetor heat, and look for a drop in RPM, which we do. Back to off. Check the vacuum, which they said needed to be about 5 inches of mercury, which it is. And we'll bring the engine power lever all the way back down to idle and check for what I think is referred to as an idle stall. Just make sure the engine doesn't stall out on you at the idle position. And I'm just leaning the mixture there. I just, out of habit, I don't want to foul the spark plugs. Okay, I believe that's it. So let's just go through our before takeoff check here. Master certified instrument fuel selector. Still pretty much evenly distributed. So we'll keep it on the right tank. Mixture set, we'll put it to full. The electric pump comes on. For the takeoff, stack exhaust, seats, empty flaps. Do they have to be set? Excuse me, I don't know. Alright, so trim looks like it should be, I guess, around there, or just trim slightly up. Doesn't tell me what the trim should be set as. Let's set the flaps, I guess, just one down. Doors are latched. The overhead latch is engaged. Flap set, tab set. So it's 53 knots. Back pressure to rotate. Flaps up before 70. It looks like. Excuse me. Just normal takeoff though. Climb, best rate is 70. Best angle is 61. We'll take 70. And the electric fuel pump can be off. Alright. Oh. Mixture fully rich for this one. Fuel pump coming on. And I don't think we need the pitot heat for this. So the strobes, landing lights, and approach traffic, Piper's loose here, Tango Mike Hotel, lining up departing runway 11, straight out departure for the coastline, routing east below 2,000 feet. Towards traffic. Actually, I should have said routing or departing out to the south for the coast. Well, I said for the coastline, so that should be good enough. Alright. Let's just turn on the transponder here. Hold it. Doesn't want to go to alt for some reason. Why not? Strange, it doesn't want to go to mode C. On. Standby. That's weird. Maybe it has to automatically go? I don't know. Alright, anyways, here we go. I'm gonna hold the brakes for now. Okay, brakes released and off we go. Not bad, sounds pretty good. Left rudder in there for torque. Should also have a little bit of crosswind. I think we said 57, right? Or the 47. gonna go with 57. That's 55, 57-ish. Okay, rotate. And we're up. Aim for about 70. I'm gonna center the pedals. Okay, we're not clear of the obstacles yet. There's some trees at the end there that we want to make sure we clear adequately before we bring the flaps up. Beautiful day for flying. Keep an eye out on our engine instruments there. Everything's still in the green. Okay, we're clear of the obstacles, I'd say. So we're going to bring the flaps up. We're going to anticipate a drop of the nose, but the exact opposite happens for some reason. Again, I'm not a pilot, nor have I flown a Tomahawk in reality. So, yeah, we're just going to basically meander our way to the coastline there. $70 knots, I believe they said, right? Yeah. Fuel pump can come off. Landing light can come off. Trim for 70 knots. And yeah, we're going to actually level off at 1,500 for now. Transponder doing? Okay, now it's on mode C. Okay, now it's on. So it seems for some reason, I don't know if it's a V-pilot thing, but yeah, I wasn't able to change it manually for some reason. Right, so gear stays down. It's fixed gear. Flaps are up and confirmed. Lights are as they should be. The fuel pump is off. Let's see what else there might be. So, use about everything. Normal max power for cruise about 75%. So, I don't know what that is. We'll just look maybe in terms of the throttle position. Yeah, she sounds good. Beautiful day for flying. I want to say there was clouds earlier in the sky, but it seems like they've... Oh, they're there. They were actually out over the ocean. So apparently they have modeled the spin characteristics of this aircraft, so we'll definitely check that out a bit later. Let's just clear the controlled airspace here. Still no ATC though. A little bit bumpy today, but it's to be expected because there's a lot of valleys and ridges here, so I don't expect it to be totally smooth. We'll keep the mixture rich here as we are still quite low to the ground. We'll maintain, I think we filed, oh we didn't file actually, so yeah, but we'll stick to 1,500 as at some point we'll be merging with the extended center line as we continue along down the coastline here. As far as I can remember, regulations state that you need to always be within gliding distance of land when overflying water, so make sure that we stick close enough to the land for that. There's not much beach here in reality, I think, and you can kind of see that as well. Very rocky shores that we'll be following here. But it looks like we do have occasionally some fields here off to our left to target should we need to make an emergency landing for whatever reason. Alright, so as mentioned, this is the, or rather this was the town slash city of George there, just out over our left wing. Pushed around here by some updrafts and downdrafts. And we'll be making our way eastwards along the coastline towards Plettenberg Bay, but passing Neisner on the way. Working the controls here quite actively to keep ourselves in a straight level profile because of the turbulence. This aircraft apparently had the nickname of Tomahawk because of its dodgy stall characteristics. I suspect it might have to do with the fact that it has this T-tail design. So I believe we just passed Wilderness because that was the Cayman's river mouth out there. It's a VRP. Just before we exit the control zone. Control zone appears to be more in line with the boundary with this lake over here. So once we pass this lake, we should be clear of the CTR. CTR or CTZ? CTR. This would be the town of Sedgefield that we are approaching. More specifically, it will be, I think, behind this ridge over there in the distance. So as mentioned, you know, as you fly, if you want to be a responsible pilot, you always want to keep your eyes out for, or keep an eye out for places where you can perform emergency landings should the need arise. So on this part of the coastline, you can see we do have some sand, some beach. Not ideal, but you know, it's better than a rocky shoreline. But we also have these fields off to our left. It does look a little marshy, so, but yeah, there looks like to be some sort of a little field there that we could aim for if we had to aim for one. Definitely not a speedy beast. You're cruising around at about 90 knots here. About 75% of power. Not sure how you do go about changing fuel tanks. Some aircraft you generally put on the fuel pump, sort of for just in case. Then you swap it. Give it a few seconds in case, because it would take maybe a second or two to register, cut off of fuel. And then when you're sure that everything's still running nice and smoothly, turn off the fuel pump, keep an eye on that fuel pressure gauge, and see, alright, we're maintaining fuel pressure. So we've successfully changed over to the other tank. Tank changeovers, I think the convention is like every 15 minutes. So we should officially be clear of the George CTR. Making our way to this town of Sedgefield out in front of us, about 11 o'clock position. So yeah, just a little bit more about the avionics configuration. So I don't like messing with them in flight, because I feel like, especially with the GPSs, can mess with their functionality. But just know that, you can install a GPS. I think it's the 530, and I think either of the GTNS is available for Flight Simulator 2020 is available as well. You can also remove this extra nav radio receiver, but I've sort of configured this into a bit of an IFR situation. Excuse me. I have coffee. Actually, I think I'm going to pour myself some coffee, and in doing so, I'd like to demonstrate, but show you a feature, another feature, convenient feature is 1.6. You have this rudimentary little autopilot system here. In place specifically for those of us that like to do cross-country flights, but also prefer the freedom of stepping away for a cup of coffee or a bathroom break. So, to confirm, the aircraft in reality do not have autopilot, or are typically not equipped with autopilot. But JustFlight have been gracious enough to include a rudimentary autopilot system here for us to allow for the option. Step away should the need arise, and I believe the need has arisen. I need a cup of coffee, so I'll leave you inside or outside. Let's leave you inside with a wing view, and I'll be back in about 5 minutes. Okay. Also, took the liberty to listen to my stream. It seems like the volume levels are good, so I'm going to keep them where they are at. I'd say, I don't know why, but I don't like... Let's take away one of these OBS gauges. And, yeah, let's turn off the autopilot. Got my coffee with me, so if you hear me move the mic periodically, that's why. I'll be sipping on that as we continue along our journey here. Let's see, I've got the Navigraph open on my actual tablet. Trying to look past this, there we go. To see where we are. I believe this is Walker Point that we are approaching here. We'll make our way back towards the coastline here, as I believe that is, yes, this is the town of Neisna, which will be just behind this ridge here. Let's yeah, follow this river and the road. I think it's the highway. Yeah, let's do some sightseeing here. I love my GA aircraft, and sounds are really important to me, as you know, you tend to spend a lot of time in these smaller aircrafts, these slower aircrafts. As you travel, you know, as you cover a distance. So it's for that reason really important to me to have a really good sound set. So far my impressions are good. I'm happy. There needs to be depth to the sound, and I believe there is. Getting some turbulence here. I think this is the N2 highway. It's one of the main national or major national roads here in the country. This one, I believe, follows the coastline all the way up toward the city of Durban. It's about a 2-hour flight away from Cape Town, about an hour and a half from here. So we're going to follow this road into the town of Neisna. And then I guess we'll find, yeah, I think we'll get ourselves over the lagoon there and start testing out some of the flight characteristics of the aircraft here. The airspace above us is Class C airspace, starting at 6,500 feet, so we'll have more than enough room to play here. So I think what we'll do is we'll start pitching up and getting ourselves to a more safer altitude so we can experiment with these stall characteristics. So full power again, and we're going to trim for 70-ish knots. Also going to start coming back on the mixture here. wait for it to sound like the RPM's dropping off, and then we'll just push the mixture up just a little bit more. We should have a relatively decent leaned setting. I aim for about, I mean, the higher the better, 2,500 at least. Let's try for 3.5, just because we are still flying eastbound. Catching some updrafts here as well. Allow me to sip on my coffee in the meantime here. I feel like I did put a mute button for my... That did not get saved. Or what was the mute button for the comp? I can't remember. Look at that. Shouldn't come as a surprise that a lot of rich people live here. Or rather, the majority of people that live here are rich. One day I might be able to get my self away from these flight sims and actually make something of myself, but yeah, until then, we'll enjoy ourselves some virtual flying here, whatever that's supposed to mean. Okay, let's try some stalls here. Gradually come back on the power, and we're just going to try and keep some level, try and keep level flight. Oh wow. Speed's bleeding off very quickly. Alright, let's see what happens. I'm gonna try and keep the wings normal. Feet are on the pedals. Normal? I meant level. Feet are on the pedals. Yep, you can hear shuddering. Stall buffer coming in. Oh, there's the stall warning. Shuddering. Oh, and we're spinning. Alright, we're just gonna let her fall. I'm not gonna resist that. And we'll just recover. Nice and gently. That was pretty cool. I love the sounds. Again, not sure what is FS realistic, what isn't. But that was pretty cool. Let's turn FS realistic off here quickly. I'm just going to go out the program altogether and see what we get. So we have the raw product here on display. Try and stall again. Just keeping level flight. Oh, that is JustFlight sounds. Oh, that's really cool. That was not FS realistic. I'm going to resist it now, see what happens. Oh, okay. There we go. Just let her come out. Just shallow out the pull here. We don't want to over G the aircraft. We actually oversped there, didn't we? I hope not. Let's try again. See if we can do that without overspeeding and over G'ing the aircraft. There she goes. Let the nose drop. Do not resist it. Pull up in good time. Not so hard that you over G the aircraft, and not too slow that you overspeed the aircraft. Alright, coming back on the power. Let's trim the aircraft out again here for level flight. Go with mixture fully rich again. And let's settle ourselves back into the cruise. So that was pretty cool. I'm gonna turn on FS realistic because I love the head the effect, the FS realistic, the head bobbing effect that comes with you know, sudden control movements or attitude changes and whatnot. All right, let's shall we climb back up to 3.5 or keep it here? I think we keep it here. So that was nice, huh? Now we're really close to Plet. I think Plet's there off in the distance, so we'll stick to an altitude here. I don't want to get too low. Go back to, let's see, the airport elevation is about 460 feet. So yeah, I feel like if we're 1,500 feet, puts us really low. Probably what would be pattern altitude. Just drink the rest of my coffee here quickly. Man, I love coffee. In the morning in particular. Right. So, I don't actually have a a GPS. I normally use that to help me figure out how far I am from airports. So if Walker Point to Plet is about 17 miles, that should be about 15. So we should be about 10 miles. So Plettenberg Bay traffic, Piper's Lucero Tango Mike Hotel is 10 miles west of the field, 2,500 feet inbound to land Plettenberg. I could say Plet traffic. Everyone calls it Plet in my country for short. Want to set up my flight here, active flight, APG, AGG, there we go, just for the sake of Valencia. Why do I get, okay, there we go. Alright, I'm not really monitoring my altitude here. Okay, we can start our descent. So it's runway 12 or 30. I don't have a METAR for this airport, so we'll just continue down. So we should have charts. The airport is sort of should be, there it is actually. It's gonna want to be, let's say 1,500 above the airfield altitude, so we'll make it 500 plus 1,500, so about 2,000 feet above. Just gonna keep the QNH on 1013. Oh, sorry, whatever it was at George. Very beautiful part of the country. I think most might agree. A nice bay area here. A lot of nature reserve areas out there. All right, 2,000 feet, leveling off. A little bit of power here for the cruise. And we'll join overhead. Oh, what was that? Is that a game stutter or an actual engine stutter? Engine gauges look good. Oh, it does sound good, especially outside. Wow. It is a very rugged coastline out here. Flight traffic, Piper's Lucia, Tango, Mike Hotel is about 3 miles to the west of the field. 2,000 feet inbound to join overhead the field. We'll report on the final approach next. Flight traffic. Interesting, I've never seen such a bright light come from an airport before. There you go. Not sure what this built-up area is. As far as I'm aware, it's not Plet. Plet is actually out there. Ooh. Some turbulence, probably some ridge turbulence here as we fly over the ridge. Big downdraft. I mean, my nose is almost pointing up. I'm going down, and we're losing a lot of speed here. So like a wind shear escape maneuver here a little bit. So back up to 2,000 here. Wow, really being sucked into the ground here. Alright, actually, because the windsucks are not always easily visible in the simulator, I don't know if they, don't think they get rendered if you're too high. So let's get a little bit lower here and see if we can find a windsock to look at. There's no one around, so, you know, not gonna stick. I'll get too worried about running into anyone. There, I think I see it. There is a windsock. Yeah, there it is. So quite obviously favoring that runway. which means that we are on the dead side for a left downwind. So we'll just continue descending, drawing on sort of like a crosswindy direction. I don't know why I feel like, yeah, it's really strange air currents here. Now I'm nose down and barely descending. So we'll just join on the downwind then. About 1,400, 1,580-ish. Yeah, that crossbar is really annoying. So we're going to try and vacate there. Level here at 1.4. Let's make sure the gyro, which has wandered quite a bit, is aligned with the magnetic compass. Actually, do that. That's my charts here. So that's what, runway 12. Flight traffic, Piper Zulu Sierra Tango Mike Hotel, left downwind runway 12. Flight traffic. Alright, so we're at about 80 knots. I'm sure we can probably come down on some flaps. So let's do that. It's going to start a descent. Interesting. So it does like a nose down thing. Oof. Quite a drastic change there. Nose just really wants to, just became really nose heavy. Okay, mixture is fully rich. We can start our turn onto the base leg here. Oh, very gusty conditions here as well. Wow, there's like a pipeline or something out there. Oh no, that's the road. I was surprised to say that they modeled like a gas pipe or something. Alright, turning in now. It's the final approach. The wheels are out already. I'm back on the power here. I feel like we're a little bit on the high side and a little bit on the fast side. I'm gonna aim for about 65, 60 knots because it's very gusty. I really want to get below 60. So there we are. I'm gonna bring that final bit of flaps down. Oh, and the nose just takes a dive again. It's very aggressive. Don't know if the real thing does that. Flight traffic, Piper Zeus here, Tango Mike Hotel, final approach, runway 12. Flight traffic, full stop landing. Alright, like I said, I want to maintain about 60-ish knots coming in. A little bit more because it's gusty and the wind tends to die down and I don't want the needle to jump too far below 60 knots. Getting pulled down. Okay, gear, flaps, let's get the fuel pumps on. Fuel pump, lights. And I'd say we are ready to land. Very, very bumpy. Smooth out there for a little bit. That's nice. Here we go. Oh, spoke too soon. Let's not change views last minute here. There's a tree. Oh, oh, okay, we're going around. Going around, flight traffic. Very irresponsible of me playing with the views. The nose, of course, shoots up as we bring the flaps up. And the nose down here a little bit to get some speed. clear of the obstacles. I want to bring up the last bit of flap. It's about 70 knots. And man, she's really tough to handle when you bring those flaps up or when you bring them down. Any changes to the flaps makes like a drastic change to the flight dynamics. Okay, we're gonna aim for about 1,400 feet again. Felt like that worked really well. Okay, there we are. Coming up to 1,400. Leveling off. Go back up the power a little bit. Put the fuel pump off. I'll leave the landing lights on. Very bumpy. Okay, so now we know. Just before the touchdown zone, it gets quite bumpy. So I might come in a little bit higher just to avoid those trees in case there's a downdraft. And yeah, if I land long, I land long. Really pushed up into the air again here. Let's go back down to 1,400 feet. Flight traffic, Sierra Tango Mike Hotel, left downwind, runway 12, Plet. Get our tracker on here, head tracker. Keep an eye on what's happening. Where is the airfield? There, off our wing, okay. A bit high again. Alright, about 80 knots. I feel like it's safe to bring. Okay, so the nose should point down. So we're going to anticipate that. Bring the nose up. Bring the flaps down. There we go. We've anticipated the nose becoming super heavy after doing that. Turn onto a base leg now. Try and get a fairly stable descent going here. Alright, there's the thing. We're a little bit far away. We extended our downwind a little bit too much there. Alright, on the base leg. Still doesn't look like anyone's around. Very bumpy. Oh. I'd say we're actually almost pretty much exactly where we were before. There's the road way in front of us, and we can start our turn onto the final approach here. Flight traffic, Piper, Sierra Tango Mike Hotel, final approach runway 12, full stop landing, Plet. Alright, so fuel pump on, landing light is still on, and drop the last bit of flap. Anticipate that nose taking a dive. Turn off my head tracker. And we're going to try and, again, maintain around 60-ish knots. And like I said, I'm going to come in a little bit higher than normal just to sort of anticipate a bit of a downdraft there. Either it was a downdraft or I just lost a lot of speed really quickly, which is probably more likely because of the, I mean, if you just look at the airspeed gauge here, how that needle is jumping around, it's very gusty. Ironically, the weather conditions I was trying to avoid by not flying at Cape Town. I just want to stay over 60 here because I feel like really far under 60 we risk stalling. Well, obviously far under 60 we risk stalling. I'm getting a bit too low here. I'm going to go radio silent a bit here as I try and concentrate on this landing. This is not me doing this to the aircraft. This is the turbulence. Just as we cross that ridge there. Up. Oh. Hey, there we go. Oh, a bit of a bounce there. As we get pushed back into the air by those gusts. Definitely not my best landing. But it's one that we can walk away from. Lean out the mixture again. Plattenberg traffic, Zulu Sierra Tango Mike Hotel backtracking runway 12 for the main apron. Plet traffic. Let's see if there's any change to the sound when we open up the... Ah, yeah, there is. Very nice. That's always a plus. They say you should wait until you're off a runway or the active before you start messing around with your... See, the transponder went again. I don't know why. I thought I'm able to manually change the modes of the transponder. Alright, so landing lights off, strobes off, transponders on standby, flaps are up. I'm not going to report clear because no one's around. Let's just find a place here somewhere to park off. I think we'll go here. I know this guy's... Oh, there's a bit of a step there. Nice flight simulator. Alright, we'll just slow it down, make a little turn here. There we go. Parking brake set. Managed to keep the fuel relatively level there. Fuel pump can come off. Forgot about that. But otherwise, I think we're good. Let's just check what the checklist says, if there's anything we might be missing. So for the approach, the fuel selector was on the appropriate tank, the seat backs, belts, harnesses, all the stuff. The electric pump was on, the mixture was fully rich, the flaps were set, about 80 knots trimmed to about 70. Final approach speed should be about 62, just over 60. So there you go. I was right with that. Full flaps, outboard, inboard flow, strips installed. Oh, interesting. Didn't know about that. But anyways, yeah, like I said, just keeping it above 60 there, just on the final approach. Stopping the engine, flaps are retract, electric pumps off, the radios. Turn them off. And what else? Throttle fully off, mixture cut off, and the magnets off. So basically, just like you would cut off or kill any other piston engine. Mixture to cut off, and we're gonna bring the fuel back to its off position, the fuel selector. Turn off all the other lights that are still on, the magnetos are off, and the battery can come off. Co-pilot bounce there. Unlatch the doors. Oof, you can really hear it's super windy out there. What's going on here? There we go. Welcome to Plattenberg Bay Airfield or Airport. I hope you enjoyed the flight with me in the brand new JustFlight Piper Tomahawk. So, what's the verdict? I generally, personally judge an add-on by three things. It's got to look good, it's got to fly good or feel good, it's got to sound good. Right? Actually, if it was in order of importance, it would basically be a tie between looking good, sounding good, and then it's obviously got to feel good. Now, I will say that unfortunately, as far as Microsoft Flight Simulator goes, it's never going to feel good, in my opinion. The flight model just isn't, it just doesn't feel right. It's not bad, especially as far as the Tomahawk is concerned. Um, I think there's definitely a little bit more of a feel of inertia. I think the issue with Flight Simulator is, especially when it comes to the light aircraft, like the Cessna 152, and all the other sort of microlight STOL aircraft, it just feels like there's no mass to the aircraft. Um, and, it just doesn't, obviously, it's not just limited to the light aircraft, the heavy aircraft, like your Boeings, your Airbuses, there's maybe more inertia there, but, I'm not going to get into that, right? There's obviously, they have their own set of issues when it comes to the flight models. But all I'm trying to say, generally speaking, I'm never very optimistic when it comes to the handling characteristics of an aircraft in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. That is from someone coming from being an avid X-plane pilot, where the physics definitely feel a lot more realistic. That's also coming from someone that has some flight experience, especially in light aircraft. Nevertheless, that doesn't mean that Microsoft doesn't excel in any of the other areas, and I have to say, where FS 2020 really excels is obviously the visual aspect of the simulator, and when someone comes out with a really well-designed exterior model, it's hard not to notice, and the Tomahawk here is no exception. Beautifully modeled exterior, from the panels that just don't quite sit flush with the airframe. Again, that's true to the real thing. To obviously the beautiful ray matching that you see, the reflections, and the sort of the dimples and the ripples in the aircraft skin. You can see the apparently each individual rivet has been modeled. As far as the paint is concerned, the texturing, you've got your I would say like an adequate amount of dirt just to give the aircraft some character, showing off that it has been used. I mean, what else is there really to say? I'm also quite a stickler when it comes to, propeller animation. And again, that's something I feel like Flight Simulator doesn't not do well. But, as far as Flight Simulator 2020 is concerned, it's not bad with this aircraft. Overall, I'd say she looks fantastic. So big check on the looks. So how does she sound? Does she sound good? Yes. I'm very happy with the sound set. I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. There's character to it. There's some depth to it. It's nice and meaty, especially when you run the engine up into the higher RPMs. Sounds, I would say, 100% authentic, and that should not come as a surprise, as they recorded the real thing, apparently through all RPM ranges. So what you hear is what you'd get in reality. So I'd say all in all, if I were to give this thing a score out of 10, I'd give it an 8. She looks good. She sounds good. And for a Flight Simulator 2020 aircraft, she does feel good. Not to forget the interior of the aircraft. I mean, just listen to that. The sounds are excellent. You've got the wind fading away the sounds, obviously, as you close the doors up, latch them closed, or latch them up. You've got your, I thought you had your circuit breakers modeled here. Oh, is that so? Look, I think there are some circuit breakers in aircraft that you are not able to pull, and I think that's what these are. But the ones that you are indeed able to pull, you can pull, and I'm sure that they are probably modeled as well. I mean, if we really want to check it out here, you can see COM1 and nav2, COM1, nav2, those all trip when you pull the breakers. So yeah, overall, very happy with the aircraft. I look forward to flying her on many more cross-country flights. For now, that'll have to be it. I mean, what more is there to say? This is another excellent aircraft from the JustFlight team. I think it was their developer. I think it was an in-house team that developed this aircraft. Oh, that's also the other thing I wanted to mention. It's just apparently, I think if you do mess with the baggage weight, it removes, yeah, it adds and removes actual items of baggage, which is really cool. Always nice little touches like that that bring an aircraft like this to life. Texturing is, I'd say, like pretty much perfect. Really, I don't think there is much, if anything, that I can say. I don't really have much to say against it, to be honest. There may indeed be a bunch of features I did not encounter and did not mention. As I said before, I have not read the manual. I will be doing that in my own time. So yeah, please feel free. I believe the manuals are available for free, even if you don't have the aircraft purchased. So yeah, feel free to look through those and get a very in-depth idea of what is on offer with this aircraft. But yeah, I highly recommend it to anyone that, like me, enjoys general aviation aircraft. Yeah. What more can you say? And with that, I'm going to leave it at that and thank anyone that may have been joining me live for the stream. And I hope that anyone that watches this stream in future gets value from it. Those that were on the fence about getting it, hopefully I've given you a bit more perspective, enough to make a more informed decision going forward. Thanks again, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.